So the next view we're going to create is a floor plan. And to do that, we're going to use not a structural plan. We're going to use an architectural plan, a floor plan here, and we'll use this first finished floor. And let's duplicate that real quick. Duplicate, and then of course we'll rename it. So rename this, and we'll name it 5 floor plan. And then what we want to do is come in, of course, and expose and get rid of those things that we don't need. Um, I believe that the grid lines are probably more confusing than they are helpful in this case. So I'm going to go ahead and hide them in the view, and I'll just hide them by category, and that'll take that whole category out. Okay, so as you can see, that simplified it a lot. I don't need this wall section, or that topo section, and I really don't need this property line either. Just more visual information that I don't need. These, of course, you won't have them in your drawing because you didn't model them, but I did, so I'm going to remove them. Now we're just kind of basic down. Since we don't have any doors or windows or anything like that, nothing's showing here. The next thing I'm going to check is my view range. Make sure it's within a good range of what I want to see. Up the first finished floor, the section cut is being cut, or the view is being cut at 4 feet. It goes down to the finished floor, which is 0, 0, or the finished floor. Um, and then the whole depth of the view is set at 0, 2, as long as these are the same, or this one's deeper or not. Once again, that's totally based on whether there are things that I want to see in this plan that I'm not seeing. So I'm going to say OK to this. One thing that you need to be careful about is that many symbols, okay, are set to certain scales, okay? So the scale right now is set to 1/8 inch. If I were to drop this down to a 1/16 of an inch, okay, notice, of course, everything gets bigger, but notice that those two disappeared. And the reason is because uh, they were set not to show at 1/16 of an inch scale. Um, and I'm not sure why this one also doesn't disappear. But if I go back to an 1/8 inch, then they're going to reappear. So if you can't see certain symbols or something like that, sometimes you might want to check and make sure they're set to the scale that you're set to. The only other thing I'm going to do to this is add kind of 2 pieces of text in here, or maybe just one, just label the walls. But the other thing I'm going to do is go in here and override, do an override, a graphic override. Um, and this happens to be walls, so I'm going to do by category. And then the cut pattern, um, it's set to my material right now. So what I'm going to do is set it to solid, and then I'm going to make it gray. So it's a gray solid. I'm going to apply that and say OK, and that'll just make my wall stand out, you know. And then the last thing I'm going to do is add some text in here. So I'm just going to add in here. Uh, oh, I should have pointed that out. That's okay. I'll point it at it in a minute. 2 by 4. Oh no, 2 by 6. That's right. We model this as a 2 by 6 wood wall, uh, light wood framing, light wood framing. Okay, and then I can move that around. Probably move it over here, and then let's here, and I'll add a leader to it, another leader to it, to that side, and point it to there too. And so this is lightwood framing, and for this, since this is the only structural thing in our plan, this will work uh, fairly easily. So that's floor plan.